Good evening, everybody. Happy solemnity of the body and blood of Christ. For those who have celebrated it, um, you may notice a few things are different. You may notice that the room that I'm in tonight is different. You may notice that this is starting at a slightly different time. I am now in Washington, D.C., beginning my canon law studies. And so you could expect that the time slot for this will move from Eastern time, from Central time to Eastern time for the duration of June and July. So for all of June and July, I'm here in Washington D.C. and I'll be starting it at 7:30 Eastern rather than 7:30 Central. Uh, well, that's just too bad, West Coast refugee. Something else we've talked about a little bit is possibility of doing a Moby Dick book club, and I just set up a little Discord server today for that purpose. You can find the link down below in the video description. There would be a link to join that server. If you're curious to know more about it, we haven't really planned anything in any kind of detail yet. We are just in the kind of the initial stages. There's still time to hop on and have some influence there. So in Washington D.C. now, you can expect these to start at 7:30 Eastern, and Moby Dick Book Club is in the video description. Now I've got something that I'm kind of interested to talk about: how to talk about modesty in church. This is something rather near and dear to my heart, and very often these discussions about modesty become extremely fractious. They become kind of heated and become a little bit embarrassing. And so I've been thinking about the way to actually be able to do this without, let's say, unnecessarily offending people, though. Sometimes it's necessary, but if you could avoid offending people, I think that's a good thing. So, what are the situations? Well, the first thing is, let's say I'm imagining this from the perspective of a priest, because that's what I am and that's what I do. So, hopefully, you'll be able to adapt this to your own circumstances as you see fit. First thing I would say is you shouldn't be brand new somewhere to do this. You shouldn't have just shown up and decided that this is a topic that you want to take on, because it can be a little bit tense, a little bit testy, and it's really good to actually know the landscape of the place that you're dealing with here, and that the people might know you. They've gotten an opportunity to see what you're about. They might have gotten to the point where they start to trust you. So that would be, I think, the first thing. It's not something you should just blast into, but it's something that rather would come after there's a bit of a relationship of trust there. Okay. To that end, I actually have a specific parish in mind that I'm talking about, a parish that I got to know rather well. And at this rather large parish, what I would frequently see any time of the year was men wearing shorts to church. So this is something that I have in mind when I think about this. So we get to the time of the homily, we get to the time I get up to the pulpit, and we just start talking about our bodies and the dignity of our bodies. This is something that's important to us, that God has given us these bodies in order to serve him, in order to glorify him. And so it doesn't, it's not like this is just some kind of a machine that we can use up and abuse and then get rid of when it no longer suits us. This is something that is precious and valuable and that we need to be taken care of. It's also the way the soul expresses itself in the world. And so what we do with our bodies matters. Moving on to say that this goes all down to the way that we present ourselves in public in order to be of service to people, in order to have the possibility of having a stable, rational, healthy relationship with somebody. We need to present ourselves in such a way that people know what we're about, what we're thinking, what our intentions are, because If we just come around disheveled, if we come around wearing whatever we like, if we aren't abiding by some kind of external standard, people don't know how to relate to us. People won't know what you're thinking, what you're about. See, the way that you dress and the way that you present yourself in the world really does matter, because it signals to you lots of things very, very quickly and efficiently. And so that's why you go into Best Buy. You see people in khaki pants and blue polo shirts. They are signaling to you that they're an employee who works there, and that you can ask them questions about computers, and they, in theory, will be able to help you. And if not, they will find you somebody who can help you. So the way that we dress is important. And the way that we dress should match the level of importance of whatever it is that we're doing. So if we're just hanging around our house, if we're just relaxing after a long day's work, you can wear as comfortable clothing as you want. That's a perfectly appropriate thing to do. But it's disrespectful to people when you dress down like that when you're out and about, as a rule of course. If you're going to a wedding, you really shouldn't show up in dirty jeans and a t-shirt. It's a sign of disrespect to the bride and the groom. And well, when we come to worship God, we need to bring the very best of what we have. All of that sounds like it's pretty easy there. This is the key point right here. You say, gentlemen, I think nobody's ever told you this before, and I have to be the first one to say this, but it's inappropriate to wear shorts to church. It's not an okay thing to do this, because you're signaling to everybody around you that you think your physical comfort is more important than everything else. That's not what we're here for. We're here to worship God. And we don't worship God with second-rate things. We don't worship God with whatever happens to be lying around, but we bring to God the very best of what we have. So I really think that it's important that we understand that shorts are, frankly, something not just that we shouldn't be wearing to church, but something that we shouldn't be wearing unless we're at the gym or at the beach or something like that. And actually, it's my fervent desire to see the quality of dress in our church be raised up to do that, because our society has become awfully casual, and that's leading to things falling apart, things kind of breaking down. So what I'm doing is I'm starting the Father Eric Tie Club, and I'll come up with the rules for it later. But basically, it's a group of men that we get together and we teach each other how to tie ties and how to dress up well, how to look presentable while we are out in public. Because, gentlemen, if you don't raise the bar out there, it's just going to keep on slipping. It's just going to keep on falling down and down and down. And oh, by the way, ladies, everything that I said about shorts also applies to yoga pants. That would be the way I would do it. In fact, I think we have this myopic focus. So that's the end of the little talk I would give there. We have this myopic focus on modesty as it relates to women, that we forget that it's actually a much broader virtue than just what women clothing wear. For instance, it matters what men wear. And it also covers the way that we conduct ourselves in general, not just in terms of wear, but there's also modesty of speech, modesty of action, and all sorts of things that would also fall under the virtue of modesty. And if we can get the men on board with it, it will get everybody on board with it. Can you imagine seeing a boyfriend and girlfriend couple, or perhaps a husband and wife couple, where the husband's wearing a three-piece suit and the wife is wearing sweatpants? See, that might happen once, but it won't happen a second time. I really don't see that happening. So that would be the way I would talk about modesty at church. I'm spending this afternoon at the Ren Fair with my family, so I'll catch the recording later. Okay, very good. My wife and I joke about in modest dresses, someone is wearing their Easter outfit. Oh my. Yes. Yes, he does. He loves you so much, he wants you to be better. Marcus has got a question. When historically did Catholic priests start wearing pants as opposed to cassock over pants? That's something that really began in the United States as a result of anti-Catholic sentiment. In the 19th century, the Synod of Baltimore gave a particular law for the United States that when priests would go out and about, they should wear, still wear a clerical collar, but it should be like a suit coat and trousers, and only to wear the cassocks while they're around on their parishes there. So that was something that began, as far as I know, in the United States, and it has become a little more common and acceptable. I always say I think a guy just needs to be in uniform, and hopefully it to be well nice. But if he's going to do the tab shirt versus a cassock or a full wraparound collar, that's fine by me. It's only happened a couple times at a specific Novus Ordo Basilica, but I was genuinely shocked by what the male lector was wearing. Oh yeah, well, double for the modesty and dress for the sacred ministers. For Pete's sake, they need to be to dress well because they're up there on the altar. Actually, I kind of feel like lectors should be wearing an alb or a cassock or surplice when they're reading. But I'm not in charge of anything yet. I'm just in school still. So what do I know? The link is in the description, and I've certainly talked enough. I'm interested in hearing if you think that my ploy for modesty by winning the men will work, or if you just think I'm completely full of nonsense there. As far as my classes go, one that's going to be very interesting in my canon law studies is going to be American law for canon lawyers. A lot of reading for them. Hello, Marcus.
Hey, Father Eric. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. We met last year at the DC conference. I don't know if you remember.
Yes, you're the economics of religion guy,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then I saw your stream was on, and then I was reading this book, The Making the Middle Ages by Robert Southern, and he mentioned canon law, and I was like, Father Eric, canon law. Oh, he was going to be in DC again this summer. So I am not far. I'm in Fairfax, Virginia. So we ought to meet up at some point this summer.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. We should. Next Saturday is actually a really cool opportunity. Have you heard anything about the National Eucharistic Pilgrimage?
No, I haven't, but I won't be in town next Saturday.
Okay. Well, I'm going to talk about it anyway because, from the four corners of the United States, we're doing a Eucharistic procession to a big meeting in Cincinnati in July. And so next Saturday is going to be passing through Washington, D.C. So there'll be a big mass and a procession through part of the city. So I think it's really cool. I don't know.
Good.
Maybe I'll see somebody there.
I don't have too much time to stay on because I'm going to talk to my parents, but I wanted to say hi and say that we should hang out or something.
Sure thing. You're on Discord?
Yes, I am.
Okay. You should be able to find me there somehow.
Yeah.
One of the adjacent servers.
And I'm finishing up my degree soon, and I'm moving to Southern California for a postdoc. So this is my last summer in DC.
Oh my, Southern California. You just really want to go from one swamp to another.
Yeah, basically. Well, it's where my family lives, and it's where they offered me a job. So that's basically what happens.
All right. Well, family and job's a good enough reason. West Coast refugee there, he's not going to like that. He's already a refugee from the West Coast.
Okay. And the other thing is, I think when we were in DC, I mentioned this book to you, Law and Revolution by Harold Berman. Mm-hmm. And if you're studying canon law, like social scientists love this book. like, or you know, people that do either political science or legal history or anything, they this is a book that people turn to all the time because he's making this pretty strong argument. I think he himself was a non-practicing Jew when he wrote it in the 80s, but it's a very clear. It's one of the best descriptions of the feudal legal system I've ever seen. But he's also arguing very strongly that the Gregorian Revolution in the 11th century has basically shaped so many things about the Western world since, and all through canon law and everything. It's just, I 100% recommend it.
Interesting. I've got a mountain of reading I'm doing, especially for this American Law for Canon Lawyers, which is giving us legal school in a month. Give us law school in a month. So,
well, I've done some summaries and conversations on my channel, so you can check those out.
Okay. All righty. Thank you. Is it just Marcus Shera?
No, it's the channel that I use for, I don't know, academic or things like that. It's called the Econ Playground.
The Econ Playground.
Yeah.
All right. Econ Playground. All righty. I'll put that in the chat there.
Okay, cool.
And people should be able to find it if they do that.
But so on the topic that you had brought up, I wore shorts to church yesterday, I think. But it was the first time that I caught myself. I was like, oh, I'm not sure that this is entirely proper. But I mean, it was because it's because it was hot out. That's was my thought. And I've never gotten admonished for it by the priest, but maybe I should.
Well, you just got admonished by me.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but I'm in the Orthodox Church, so.
Okay. What are the odds they're going to greatly disagree with me? I don't know. I don't know. It's what God gave us khaki pants for.
Yeah, true. That's what I'm wearing now. That's what I wore to church this morning.
There you go. There you go. I have been guilty of doing the same thing when it's hot. So it's not like I'm sitting up here from my high tower just throwing thunderbolts down.
Yeah.
I do think it is something that we need to reclaim. You know, you see photos from the 50s, everybody was so sharply dressed.
Yeah.
It's like, that's actually good. That's a good thing. We should have these standards because everything's just chaotic now and people wear whatever they want.
The Protestant church that I grew up in, I remember for kids, there was very low standards. I mean, some kids were dressed to the nines and some kids were dressed like it was like, I don't know, they were playing sports or something.
Mm-hmm.
But kids are a little bit different, but I see, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I was made to wear clothes I didn't want to go to church when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
So you can start them early, and then they know how to do it, and they feel comfortable to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's something that men need to lead the way in anyway.
Well, typically girls have done fine on this issue, or in terms of not dressing in sweatpants like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. We'll rebuild it brick by brick here.
Yeah. Well, the other dimension of immodesty is whether clothes are revealing or not, which is a whole different issue.
Sure, I think that's a part of something that's bigger, though. It's just myopic focus on only half of the human race and one part of the virtue of modesty. I think kind of lessens the conversation, even though it is still a part of that modesty and dress of us needing to regulate ourselves in order to participate in society. That's really what modesty does. You can imagine how unpleasant it is when you're at dinner and somebody's eating like an animal. It just makes and then like who's in a position to correct them? Somebody should, and I guess it's just going to end up being me. Shouldn't eat like that.
Well, okay. And what do you think about the dimension of modesty that's okay? People are dressing very well, but they're almost competing in who's dressing better.
I think so. Aristotle, he talked about if you're gravely deficient in one virtue, you have to. It's like you're trying to straighten the stick out. It's not enough just to get it straightened out. You kind of have to bend it in the other direction in order to get it straight. So I think we're in the position where that would actually be okay, just because it would kind of raise everybody else up here. But there is definitely a thing like expensive shoes. There's this whole world of expensive shoes that I'm not in touch with, but people will spend a lot of money. It usually ends up being people who really can't afford these, $500 shoes that they're buying. Um, and so there's a certain amount of this luxuriousness that could be either vainglorious or imprudent. So yeah, it's always a danger, but we got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a point that I've at least heard Peterson make back in the day, which is that people should have that we've sort of developed cultural uniforms, and that everybody has one suit that's of a certain quality, and we all wear it. We all look, we all have our particularities. We get to have our own uniqueness, but we're at a position where no one is seen as looking better than anyone else, right?
Mhm.
You have the typical male suit, pants, belt, button-up shirt, tie, suit jacket,
Mhm.
and everyone's sort of on par.
Yeah, and it's like a basic entry level suit is affordable for most people. You'd really have to be in a tight place where you couldn't afford the 200 or so dollars or less. If you're a more standard size, you can go to a thrift store and probably find something of decent quality there. So it is accessible. You don't have to have the $5,000 suit on, but
Mhm.
gosh, even like a polo shirt and khaki pants is just miles above where we're at right now. You'd be doing you'd be doing just fine wearing that most days.
So when you were saying you were thinking of a particular time where people were wearing shorts in church. Are you thinking like basketball shorts?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen like golf shorts and cargo shorts too. I don't think those are much better. Um, yeah, and sometimes you'd see like a dad and his son both wearing it, and it's like, oh, okay, I know where that came from.
Mhm.
It's just, yeah. Starting at a church. We can do it that one place, and then can roll it out there. So you said you're gonna go start like doctorate studies.
A postdoc. So I'm finishing a doctorate here
Okay.
at George Mason in econ, and then I'd head off to Chapman University to do a postdoc there for about a year.
Okay. Is that just like research time
Yeah,
or
it's like research after your degree and setting yourself up for the job market kind of thing.
interesting? Yeah. So are you gonna try and like join a think tank or?
Hopefully be a college professor somewhere.
Okay.
That's the goal, but that is sort of a world that's in crisis right now.
Hmm.
I think, I mean, a lot of people talk about, the content of what's going on colleges, but also just we're hitting a demographic cliff in terms of people that are college age. So just the demand for colleges for the demand for college education, like kids between 18 and 24, is just
Hmm.
declining.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and a bachelor's degree doesn't mean what it used to. So
yeah,
that can be it's kind of funny. People go around and build all sorts of systems that are predicated on infinite growth, and it never happens. And
I mean, this system wasn't necessarily predicated on infinite growth, but things have been encouraging its growth, which didn't need to encourage its growth. and people did not anticipate it fast enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like the academic market is somewhat medieval in ways that other labor markets are not.
Hmm.
And like the tenure system has its purposes, but it's people are staying longer than they're contributing. They're not pushed out like a normal market would push someone out that's underproducing.
Oh, okay. So are they talking about getting rid of tenure then? Because it does serve its purpose of like, hey, you've proven yourself. Now you've got the freedom to just say what you want without worried about getting sacked.
And some people say what they want, and some people just do nothing, which is an issue. So people end up sticking around somewhere doing the bare minimum for years and years.
Okay.
Unless they break some code of conduct seriously or have serious neglect of duties.
Okay. I mean, I'm only in that the School of Canon Law is apparently shorthanded right now. They don't have enough professors, so
that's a pretty unique discipline, that one.
Yeah, it's a very, very small world. That's what I've come to realize. It's like, yeah, I've got the top canon lawyer in the United States as my professor. Obviously I do, because there's one canon law school in the United States.
If you're interested, I think the guy that is the top Orthodox canon lawyer is also in DC at St. Nicholas Cathedral.
You guys have canon lawyers, okay?
Well, maybe one, maybe like three in the U.S.
Yeah.
But I mean, somebody has to study it.
Yeah. Well, I'd be interested, because we've got the code of canons for the Eastern churches, and you can specialize in that. And people like there's a gentleman here who's a Chaldean Catholic, and he's actually studying here, and he's getting it in the Latin code, but that should qualify him to do things in his Eastern churches. He just has to do more research, because it's going to be a little more unique for him.
Are there still differences in the Eastern Rite Catholics and such? Are there still differences recognized with things like degrees of consanguinity or number of cousins away that it has to be to get married to them or something like that?
I don't know.
There were serious differences.
I don't know. I really don't know. That might be something they actually leave up to each individual church rather than, So there's the code of canons for all the Eastern churches that kind of lays out some of the basics that they need to be unified on. And it was the Romans who were like, okay, you guys are going to have this now. And, we took feedback and but they're all supposed to also have their own internal particular law to regulate their churches. And I don't know if consanguinity's in the code of canons for the Easterns or not.
Mm-hmm. But obviously, the Byzantine churches don't need celibate priests either, correct?
Correct. And you will find exceptional Latin priests too. So
right.
But it is the exception rather than the
grandfathered in a sense if they convert and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like Anglican priests that convert.
Yeah. That's
are there holy orders recognized? If an Anglican priest converts, are they recognized as a priest?
No, they're ordained again.
Yeah. Okay.
There was a big study on that in the late 19th century. I think it was actually spurred on by the Oxford movement, where people in Oxford were asking this question seriously. And so the Vatican weighed in and said that it's really funny the way they said it. They said there was a defect in the exterior intention of the ordination ceremonies used in the 16th century. Now, for the life of me, I can't tell the difference between exterior intention and form, because they were like pointing at the words they said and like, oh, that's the exterior. So what do I know, right? It might be because there's really not one set form for ordination.
Mm.
It can vary from church to church, whereas baptism, that's pretty well set. It's either active voice or passive voice. Not that Orthodox guys worry about form the same way we do.
Yeah. Well, because that was an issue with Anglicans converting to Orthodoxy in America. There was a famous priest who got in an Episcopalian priest who got in trouble with his bishop or got in an argument with his bishop and ended up converting to Orthodoxy, and they reordained him. Mm-hmm. So, because there was this awkward period where there were so few Orthodox priests in the United States that St. Raphael of Brooklyn, who was at the time, Archbishop of the basically Antiochians in America, was like almost hinting or thinking about saying, okay, you guys can go to the Anglicans or the Episcopalians for your sacraments and such. Mm-hmm. And then he basically completely pulled back on that. He was like, sorry, I should have never said that. And St. Tikhon, the Russian bishop in the United States, was reordaining these Anglicans. So it was somewhat awkward and somewhat uncertain whether Orthodox were going to recognize Anglicans, and then it became pretty clear that they weren't going to.
What decades was this happening?
This is like 1910s, 1920s.
Okay, so that wouldn't have been very long after the Vatican Declaration on that. I wonder.
I guess not. Yeah.
Because that was Leo the 13th who made that pronouncement about the Anglican orders.
Now, what about an Orthodox priest that converts to Catholicism or vice versa?
They should just need to make a profession of faith.
Yeah.
And as far as the Orthodox go, that's up to you guys. I don't set that rule.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm curious now.
Yeah. One of these days we'll get this whole schism thing figured out.
Yeah, hopefully.
Nicaea 2025. I think it's still happening.
I don't know if they'd let us into Nicaea.
Who's they?
The Turkish government.
Oh.
I don't know. They can't really stop it, but I don't think they'd be happy about it.
The Pope should just march a couple divisions in there to make sure it happens.
I mean, I'm trying to look up what it's called today. It's called Iznik today. I think is that right? Yeah, Iznik, also known by its ancient name Nicaea, is a town on the eastern shores of Lake Iznik.
Small expeditionary force should be able to secure it.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, I got to call my parents now.
All righty. Well, hey,
Sunday night.
Thanks for stopping in. And I've got one weekend in June that I'm out of town, but otherwise I'm stuck here. So
great.
We should figure something out.
Yeah, we should talk. Okay. I'll see you later.
All righty. And now it's just me again. I'm not like my friend Mark. I don't have the capacity to sit and speak into a microphone indefinitely. So if the six of you don't make something interesting happen, I'll be signing off early. As far as my canon law studies go, I got law on religious, so how to moderate a monastery or a religious community. That's a class I'm taking right now, and these classes always start off so slow because it's like, oh, of course, the first class is always going to be the history of whatever it is that we're talking about. And the canon lawyers, read an article and write a summary history from that. It just wasn't all that terribly thrilling. But I'm hoping that this class will pick up and become a little more interesting there. And then the second class, that started off interesting. It was one of those classes where the professor said, hey, we've got reading for the first day that you should do, which, that was great. But it's American law for canon lawyers. And I think what they're trying to do is just summarize the entirety of legal school, entirety of law school in a month. So that's going to be a lot of reading. But I got to read Supreme Court brief. It was an opinion. I can't remember the name of the case anymore, but it was written by Alito, and he just had some really interesting things to say about the appeal they had gotten from the Ninth Circuit, talking about how the Ninth Circuit had cobbled together a bunch of disassociated quotes from an opinion that they had previously written, and didn't really understand the argument there, which just seemed like a very polite insult to me. And if lawyers get to write like that when they're on the Supreme Court, I can see why they might want the job so badly. But it'll be interesting stuff and useful stuff. Actually, some of it would probably be useful even for a regular old pastor to be able to study, because what we're going to talk about tomorrow is hiring. And well, as it turns out, you don't need to be a canon lawyer to be able to do that. You can just have just about anybody hiring, because that's how we run things. And I know you probably have human resources people in the church that can make sure that you don't do anything horribly illegal. But yeah. Let's see. Talking about the Eucharistic pilgrimage here. Not sure where everybody's at. If you're in the DC area and you're curious about it, I think it starts at the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception at 8 a.m. and goes on until about noon. It isn't actually going to go all that far, which sometimes is necessary, but decent chance of getting a big crowd there. Alrighty, here's a poll for any of the Catholics in the chat. Did you guys do a Eucharistic procession today? I did not, unfortunately. The parish that I said Mass at did not have that as an option. But I'd be curious to hear if any of you did get to do a Eucharistic procession. Alrighty. Well, maybe the time change is just making things a little bit funny. I do kind of want to see if I could stick it out to 7:30 just to catch anybody who doesn't know about the time change, which I imagine is most of you, because I didn't announce it. So we'll see if we can keep this going for another 20 minutes, but can't imagine this is making thrilling television at this point. All righty, we did have a Eucharistic procession, West Coast refugee. Could you tell me, was that just around the block, or was there actually a destination that you were able to go to outside the church's property? Oh, well, look who it is. Looks like you're out of,
how's it going?
Life's good, but you got a lot of latency.
Oh, really? Is it big latency here?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Well, I was trying to bail you out because, yeah, you get like quiet. 22 more minutes.
22 more
yeah,
minutes.
It was. What did you open with? I didn't hear your open.
It was how to talk about modesty in church. And I think you'll like it because the basic gist of it was talk to the men. Tell them to stop wearing shorts everywhere.
I like it. I like it. No, that's a good one. I've got actually it should be released any minute now. I don't know how long it's going to take. I got my Intimacy Crisis Part 2 talk coming out today, so
All right.
that's yeah, that should be exciting. That's me and Catherine again talking about that. We did mention Thunder Bay again, so hopefully that'll happen again. That'd be nice. Thunder Bay Part 2.
Yeah, I might actually be able to sleep if I go again. I got rained out in my tent.
Yeah, you're not doing the accommodations. You're not doing the accommodations you did last time, and I'm also not going to do the accommodations I did last time if I go back.
Yeah, I probably would
Not that
actually. Probably would actually hit up that couple that took pity on me when I was just telling them about how I got rained out. They're like, "Why don't you just come and stay at our house?" They were really nice, and then they
Over there.
There you go.
to church with me. Yeah.
What? No, Rip.
Oh, that's yeah, that was nice of them. The hostel was okay, but I'm not doing that again.
Mhm.
It just didn't have all the advantages of a hostel, you know?
Really?
There weren't people there hanging out afterwards, and yeah, it just wasn't as good as was advertised to me.
Mm,
So
okay.
I would not do hostel again. I'd do a regular hotel.
Yeah.
But we'll see if it happens. You know, we'll see. We got to get Catherine motivated. So
Catherine seemed excited about the prospect or not?
yeah, ultimately she was.
I'm excited. Yeah. Yeah. Check it out. We'll see what happens.
You'll see. We talked. We didn't talk about it at length, but we did mention it.
Okay. Well, that'd be fun. It's only a brief, 8-hour drive from Fargo. So.
Well, yeah, that's nice if you're in Fargo. It's
Yeah.
a little bit longer for me from South Carolina, though.
Okay.
I might have to take a plane this time.
Is there even a proper airport there? I heard a lot of people had flown into Minneapolis and drove up from there.
No, there's an airport close by, but it's a regional Canadian airport. So, yeah, the nearest U.S. airport is a 3.5-hour drive or whatever.
Cool.
Because I picked up Ethan, right, and then drove him.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move over.
I'm excited to go check it out.
So
We got a nice fire going, but
are you gonna join in with the Moby Dick book club? It's a lot
Probably.
of words.
it's a big book, right? I hate big books. Ultimately, that's not my thing.
But here's the thing: is if you get in on the ground floor, you can decide: are we going to read the whole thing, or are we just going to do excerpts of it? That might make a difference for people because I think the whole thing is good.
Yeah.
But not the whole thing is necessary.
I'm still using the quid.
Here we go. Now I got a good background.
There we go. You look like you're having a good
Yeah.
time out there.
Yeah, we got some fire.
Oh yeah. My Cape week is always nice. We got the sunset's not great today because we had some clouds, but normally you get a good sunset out of it. We were at the I don't know if you can see it, the fire pit back there. We were doing the fire pit,
Mm-hmm.
but now there's a zillion people at the fire pit, so I'm not gonna hang out with a zillion people. Yeah, the Moby Dick thing sounds interesting, right? I mean, I don't know how it's gonna go, but how many pages is Moby Dick? Isn't it like 800 or something stupid?
It's 600 or 800, somewhere in there.
That's a hell of a lot of pages to make me read. Are we going to do it weekly, or is it going to be a weekly thing?
Well, that's the thing is we gotta figure out how many people I can get. The link is in the description to this video down below. You should be able to find the Moby Dick Book Club Discord server, and we can negotiate on this, right? Because it's not like we're doing it for anybody but ourselves. So we can, we could say we're going to do this weekly, but we only want to read the highlights of the book, and we're not going to, spend the 3 chapters just talking about the different kinds of whales. And I think that'd be fine. But if everybody's really gung-ho and wants to read the whole thing, then we could do that as well. We don't have to start on a particular day or end on a particular day. Just make it happen. And I think it's a relevant book.
Sense.
I think it's a relevant book because I think Melville saw an awful lot of what had already happened and what would be coming. I think especially in the figure of Captain Ahab. I think we see a really good image of man in a certain type of rebellion against God there. And we might be able to call it a particularly relevant expression of rebellion today. And you'll be able to see that if you sit down and actually read the book a little bit carefully and pay attention to things that are really easy to gloss over with. I had a very good professor who went through this book in seminary and had us point out things that would be very easy to miss. And hopefully I'll be able to recall enough of that to benefit people. So
I see. Well, it sounds interesting. Still reading. Worst idea ever. But yeah, no, I'm going to give it a shot. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. No, I can't do audiobooks at all. I did Harry Potter audiobook. I don't remember any of them at all. Not a word. I remember the movies, not the books.
Interesting.
No, audio just slides right off me.
But not podcasts, huh?
Depends what I don't listen to podcasts. I watch everything on video.
That's right.
Yeah, very unusual. I did a few. On my way up to Thunder Bay, actually, I did this one podcast on Bloomberg because I had satellite radio, a trial for my car. So I did that, and that actually stuck. The basis of the story stuck with me, right? It was a cool story. It was actually wrapped up with Ukraine. But this is before Ukraine sort of blew up too. But audio in general, no, I do much better because I struggle when I read because I'm highly dyslexic. So when I read, it really sticks because it takes me a long time to read, a very long time. Like I did speed read a book called The Bridge of San Luis Rey. And I don't remember a word of it, but I did speed read it, and I think I did okay on the test. It was the only book I ever speed read in my life.
Cramming for the test.
Oh yeah, no, it was night before stuff too. Like because I'm a procrastinator, so when I was young, in particular, I just procrastinated all the time because I could. So
yeah. I think when I was doing it in our literature class, I read Death Comes for the Archbishop in a day because I just had to. That's how my schedule worked out. Interesting thing is ebooks. I can read fiction in ebooks, but I really struggle with nonfiction, which is a problem because I'm doing a lot of canon law reading on ebooks because it saves $20 on that stupid overpriced textbook. And I was overweight on my checked luggage on my way out here. Oh, that's expensive.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very expensive. Do not recommend. Avoid at all costs. Oh,
Yeah. No, I use a scale and I keep the heavy stuff in the front so I can open it up, put it in my carry-on instead, and things like that.
well, I was not quite so prudent. So
Live and learn. Live and learn. Yeah, I ended up with a big problem once with that, and then I had to fix it. But I did. So, but yeah, you gotta be prepared for those sorts of things.
mm-hmm. Well, I wasn't. I was packing in a hurry. I was procrastinating a little. I don't.
Yeah, that happens. Sometimes we procrastinate.
I don't care much for Washington D.C.
No,
It's not my.
not a
city.
DC fan.
Yeah.
I liked some of it, but yeah, I wasn't too happy with it either when I visited.
So I kind of had to drag my feet to actually make it out here, out of holy obedience, of course.
Whatever works. Only obedience works, so you got to roll with it.
Mhm.
That's fair. So you just did classes already start?
Yep, started on Thursday. So I got a
Wow.
couple classes under my belt, and we're just going to keep on cooking. It's only 8 weeks, and I get to go home.
That's true. That's true. Looks like you've got decent internet there.
Yeah. They switched their phone provider on account of fraudulent thing. The internet's been fine. I know
Good.
when you stayed with us, you had trouble with it, but
Yeah. No, I wouldn't have done this. That's for sure. So I'm glad it's working now. That's good.
I did look in one of the room with the copier downstairs, and I do believe they had like brand new switches. Like I don't remember that stuff being there last year, so I think they might have upgraded that too.
Yeah.
There's actually an Ethernet cable here, but it didn't hook up to anything, so I'm not using that. This is just Wi-Fi.
Oh, well, that's good. If the Wi-Fi is fast, then that's good.
Yeah, unless I'm the latency and not you.
No, I went indoors, so I went wireless instead of cellular.
Okay.
So it's probably the latency was probably me on cellular or switching between cell and Wi-Fi because all of a sudden that technology broke too. It used to be seamless and now it's not, and I'm just like, what did you guys break?
You need to go in there,
so
rewrite all the processes.
Yeah, well, I don't know when things break anymore because I don't switch from Wi-Fi to cellular very often that I know of, right? So, but lately I've been having to manual switch it because I've been doing a lot of work in the yard. I've been cutting down trees and stuff, and yeah, it's a whole new place now. Oh, yeah, if you get out to visit, you're gonna be like, what happened here? When I get into the far reaches of the yard, because I haven't even tried to set the router up for that. I have to switch to cell because the wireless is that flaky, which is a little weird actually, given the wireless signal. But eventually, I'll put in wireless repeaters and stuff and just cover my entire, half of the yard with a wireless blanket.
Radio signals going all over the place.
I'll bombard everything with RF radiation. Yeah, that's the thing I will do.
Well, nobody's gotten hurt cutting down trees yet, have they?
No, all the trees are cut. I mean, I've got to cut up.
Yeah.
One of them, I got to extract one of them from the pond because it fell in exactly the wrong direction. It was totally my fault, but wasn't really paying attention to the lay of the land the way I needed to, and caught a wedge. And the wedge was good, but the balance of the tree was not going to go where the wedge was because the wedge was actually off kilter from the land, and so yeah, that happens. We could probably get the tree out. I got to get the other tree third tree out of the way because I only have half a driveway. So,
Yeah. Your driveway's not big enough for half.
it is. It is. It's perfectly. You can get a big truck in and out of there, but I can't get to the other half of the yard easily now. So, even if I wanted to get that other tree out of the pond, I have to get all the way on the dam, rig something up, which I haven't figured out how to do yet, and then haul the tree up and move it over. Probably using the golf cart. Now that I have a golf cart that I could do such things with. So yeah, it's a big project.
Is it heavy enough?
The golf cart?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll find out. I mean, all I need is leverage. I'm spinning it on an axis technically. So I should be able to spin it on the heavy end should stay where it is. I'm just moving the light end in theory.
Gotcha. Okay.
That should be fine.
I'm imagining dragging a tree.
No, we're not dragging the tree. We're just spinning the tree. We're taking the tree this way and spinning it.
Oh, okay. That'll be quite a bit more doable.
Yeah. No, I think it's doable. We'll find out. Yeah, if I can spin that other tree out of the way and then cut that one as well. And then I'm probably going to get somebody in to do the stumps because we cut real high. But like even the last tree, well, yeah, 2 of the trees were felled with axes technically. Not entirely, but like the last few chops were axe chops, not chainsaw cuts.
That's old school right there.
Oh yeah, it was hysterical. It was quite funny. I have a video of my buddy chopping down the tree with the axe and it falls. Brrr, crackle. It's pretty cool. It's about 1 minute and 5 seconds or something. It's a pretty fun video. So yeah, it's and then I had to go in with the chainsaw and cut down do the limbing, part of the limbing. That got me the driveway just in time to load the car so we could drive up to Massachusetts here and New Hampshire. So.
All right.
So you're going to move this to 7:30 Eastern for the remainder here?
For the duration of the summer, yes, we'll be at 7:30 Eastern, just because I don't want to stay up till 10:30 or later every night.
10:30 crazy time, you mean?
Yeah, 10:30 Eastern time. Yeah. Now this is an important question, Mark.
Yes, Don. Yes.
Had the plaid flannel on. That's good.
Of course.
It would be immodest not to wear it, I think.
It's a dumb question. I'm a professional.
Actually, I bet you I can find a photo evidence of this.
There is a photo of me in my work jeans and my plaid flannel.
Hey, found it. Here we go.
There we go.
Just so we have it on record, we're going to bring it here. There it is.
There I am, starting the chainsaw. I know I'm gonna get crap. What kind of chainsaw is that? Craftsman. Blah. Look. I wasn't gonna buy a $700 chainsaw. I'm sorry. I just wasn't. That's more than $250 chainsaws, more than sufficient. Although I had to fix it. But now that I know the EPA is our enemy and all government officials must be eliminated from the planet to save us from their stupidity, we can proceed. They lock the chainsaws down for climate change because that's a big source of climate problems. Of course, they lock the chainsaw down and then they make it so you can't buy the tool, literally can't buy the tools to adjust the carburetor correctly. And they hide the carburetor adjustment screw under a piece of rubber that you have to disassemble the thing to find. I only found it by accident. But I'm like, with all the starting and restarting and brokenness, if I had been able to tune my own chainsaw, because I actually do know how to do that, it would have saved the climate compared to what you idiots did to me and I still need to order. You have to order the tools online to adjust, to do the fine tuning of the carburetor, the low high on the Venturis. You have to buy a special tool. So I at least adjusted it so it would run a decent amount of time, even warm. which was a whole catastrophe because it was just adjusted wrong from the factory. So
So you actually know how carburetors work, huh?
Oh yeah, I can rebuild carburetors and engines. No problem. I was telling my buddy yesterday. I said, so now the saw stops working when it's warm after like 15 minutes. So now I'm pissed. Now I'm like, I'm gonna take this engine part. I'm gonna put the heads. I'm gonna I'm gonna change the airflow on the exhaust system. I'm like, I was all ready to like completely disassemble, fix, and reassemble because I do know how to do all that. And then I didn't really have time, right? Because I'm trying to leave for my trip. But I found the big fuel adjustments screw, which is totally, once you take the rubber out, it's totally accessible from the outside of the saw, like it should be. And I'm like, this will probably work. And it doesn't work well enough. I do need the others, but the others, like I said, you have to order the tool online. You can't buy it in a store because they're illegal because climate change. And I looked it up. That's the actual reason. So now I'm just like, we just need to get rid of everybody in the government and start over. Like we just need to do what? Clean slate this, because this is so dumb. This has caused, they have had the opposite effect. Like you would have had less climate badness if you just let me adjust the saw correctly, because I know how, instead you screwed up the world.
Thomas Jefferson at one point speculated that we should probably throw out all the laws and rewrite them every 19 years, I think he said.
19 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. He wanted like 20-year revolutions, basically mini revolutions like that, where you just throw everything out and start over. It's not a bad plan.
That would get tiresome, I think.
Well, we had a good rule on the books, right? If you want to write a new executive regulation, you need to get rid of 3 others. That was working really well until we voted in someone else. I thought that was a brilliant way to do it. It was something that was talked about for decades, my whole life. I'm like, it seems like a reasonable thing to do. 1 for 3 or 1 for 5. 1 for 2, 1 for 3 was really good. I like that idea. We were reducing regulations left, right, and center a while ago. And I would prefer that continue, especially regulations like this that are, the problem is they accomplish the opposite of what's intended. And that's, if somebody like me can't adjust the carburetor on their chainsaw because some idiot thought it would be better for the climate, then I got questions.
Chainsaws really, they're not that big and they don't use that much gasoline.
Right.
Like you want to have a big effect on the climate.
Yep.
The automobiles, and they do spend a lot of time talking about automobiles. But unfortunately, it's coal-fired power plants in China.
Yeah, right. It's not gonna. But even the automobiles, they've made that worse too. So, like the gas mileage, the gas mileage I got on my '76 Plymouth Volare, on my '78 Chevy Malibu, and on all the subsequent cars in between are the same. So when I finally bought a brand new 4-cylinder car, it got the same gas mileage as the 8-cylinder car with no climate controls on it. Mm-hmm. That's a little suspicious when the weight's about the same, and it's a little suspicious, right? Like, why do they get the same gas mileage? What's going on here? Well, yeah, if you look at the engine real quick, you'll figure out real fast why it is. It's all the exhaust controls, and maybe some of them are necessary, but certainly all of them are not necessary.
Talking like catalytic converters reduce gas mileage?
Not catalytic converters, although I think, they do reduce gas mileage. I wouldn't suggest getting rid of catalytic converters because they work so well. Which seems weird, but they do. But some of the other stuff that they do for the carburation, the refiltration, and all that is definitely making things worse gas mileage wise.
Great. Just great. I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah.
And we're still no closer to getting thorium salt nuclear reactors.
No, because that's bad too for some unknown reason that nobody can explain to anybody else because it's probably a lie.
Plentiful and cheap.
Yeah.
nuclear fuel doesn't leave any long-term waste behind. The theory and most of the technology is already there. We just need to give some engineers a crack at getting it to work in real life. We're still not doing it because nuclear bad.
They have them.
They have I don't know how far along they are, but
no, they can't mass produce them. But someone has one. I think at least two different places have them.
Yeah,
there's a lot of nuclear in Japan. Like a lot. They do all the good nuclear experiments. They've got mini reactors that are the size of a small diesel generator that generate way more power, and some of them are sealed, but they have some with replaceable fuel things that are like 20-year fuel modules. Super efficient, and they're cheap. They're dirt cheap. They're like $250,000 or something retarded. They're super inexpensive.
Holy mackerel. I'm interested how those are powered, but I want to say something. I think in the United States, all of our nuclear technology development's been on ice since the 1970s. And so the nuclear power plant a half hour away from you is running on reactor designs from the 1960s, and they aren't allowed to update it because the EPA says so.
The big ones. The big ones, not the subs.
Not the subs.
The American nuclear subs that have never had a nuclear disaster ever.
Mm-hmm.
Those are amazing. That's the same design that they're using in Japan for the ones I'm talking about, the mini ones. Because the nuclear subs have that. They're replaceable fuel cell small nuclear plants. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. But it's worse. It's way worse. So the guy, I think it was in the 40s, although I might be remiss. I only learned this like a year ago. One of the guys on the team actually came up with the no exclusion system that oddly I came up with because it's dead simple and a 3-year-old could figure it out. You put a wax cork in the bottom of the steel tank, and then you have another tank double the size down below and a pipe in between. So that what happens is the wax is the temperature, so that when the nuclear reactor overheats, it melts the wax seal and all the nuclear material dumps into a tank twice as large, and then it won't overheat anymore. So you can totally prevent any meltdown that way. Like I said, it's just simple design. That's how I was able to come up with it, because I'm stupid. Like, I'm not a nuclear engineer. Mm-hmm. But one of the designers of the original plant actually had that design, and they kept shooting it down. And that was back then when they had a chance to change all the designs. Mm-hmm. Something's going on. I don't know what. I don't want to speculate, but something's going on. I saw a whole documentary on it. I'm just sitting there with my jaw on the floor going, you've got to be kidding me. I knew I wasn't the only one to think of that, because it's kind of simple. I don't know if there's any like that. There's other ways to prevent meltdowns. Like I think in the subs, I know they had it at Lawrence Livermore, but I think in the subs they actually have the fuel rods with permanent magnets at the end. When the fuel rod gets too hot, it breaks the hold of the permanent magnet, because there's a relationship between reactivity, the temperature, and the magnetic force. And so when the magnetic force breaks, it can't hold the fuel in place anymore. So the fuel spreads out, and then it cools down automatically. Right. So it gets far enough away that it's no longer reactive. So like they have technologies like that. They've had them since the 80s. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
for anybody who's just tuning on, we will be starting at 7:30 Eastern time for the duration of June and July. So I've already been going for an hour here. Mark's already been going on for an hour here. Anybody who might have just tuned on, this will be the normal time frame for these things. Good PSA. Also, nuclear power could be better, but evil forces are making it not so. I think that's the best, Kev. I did have a question for you, Father Eric, and I don't mean to stir up any controversy on other platforms, but I do now need to know, because I thought a very straightforward thing was stated and somebody kind of flipped out. And I was like, I don't know, is that a Catholic position? So somebody mentioned that the right answer to misstating something or stating something in a way that
we'll say was not helpful, was to confess and repent. And the response to that was, "You're treating this like I committed a mortal sin." And I was like, I'm fairly sure that Catholics are supposed to confess and repent for things that also are not actual mortal sins. Is that true?
Sure. So, confession is necessary, ordinarily speaking, for mortal sins. It's like that's the ordinary means of forgiveness. God has means of his own that maybe I'm not necessarily the mediator of. That's his business, not mine. He's given us confession, though, and we try to make it convenient enough. Now, for venial sins, it is not strictly necessary to confess those to have those forgiven. Those could be forgiven by an act of contrition, could be forgiven by pious reception of the Holy Eucharist, or other such means, because they're really, it's the difference between killing something and just kind of weakening it. There's a very big difference between those two things. That being said, the church does hold up regular practice of confession, even when it's not strictly necessary, as being a very good thing that just about any priest in the world who knows anything will say you should do. Once a month is a good time frame for that. And even if you don't, you still need to repent of any of even the venial sins that you would commit, because they're still not good, even if they're not deadly.
Okay. Yeah, that was the position I thought. Like, confession, repentance is always a good answer.
Yeah. So it is. I mean, we do want to be careful not to draw people into scrupulosity, where they're kind of imagining that their forgiveness is based on their own merit, basically, rather than God's free gift, and probably a hypersensitive conscience there, and overly anxious about things that aren't, in the large scheme of things, a big deal. And you deal with that a fair bit in the confessional. So that's why I give that once a month advice, because, if you're going once a month, you're probably not struggling with scruples.
That makes sense.
People start going once a week. It's like, getting close. This could be okay. This could also go wrong. And if they're going more than once a week without any grave matter in there, it's kind of like, I think you just need to relax. It's not like going to confession more. It's not something that scales up with quantity necessarily, where if you just did it more, everything would be better.
Yeah, exactly. No, there's no materialism in Catholicism, I hope. That would be the end of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the prescription for someone with an audience giving bad advice, right? Or saying something that is not good for the audience? Like, how does the church deal with that sort of thing?
You kind of broke up there. You're talking about somebody giving bad advice to a big audience?
Yeah.
I mean, depends on whether or not they're Catholic. It sounds like whatever you're thinking about, the person is a Catholic. Depends on their position in the church. If it's just somebody, there's a good legal principle that you should always go for the least invasive and intrusive means first. So it'd be like, hey man, I saw that you took your children to a pride parade.
Yeah.
Like maybe you shouldn't expose your children to that, and you just do that like in a one-on-one conversation. We're not necessarily going to go straight to making a big deal out of it. And oh yeah, gosh, I just it looked like fun. And yeah, not that kind of fun. I don't think you want your kids having that kind of fun. and then you escalate from there. It depends on the severity of the situation. You know, if there was a priest saying things that were really deeply wrong, he could have his preaching faculties removed from him. It's just, but you know, everybody loves rebels nowadays, and the problem with the index of forbidden books is that they all became bestsellers. So sometimes, as with your frustration with the EPA and your chainsaw, them trying to make it better actually makes things worse. So usually proceeding slowly and carefully is the best way forward.
Yeah, the minimum necessary force principle sounds really good. The problem is we're at 0 force ever, and that's making everything worse. That's one of the things we talk about in the intimacy crisis talk is nobody's understanding conflict or how to resolve it or accept it, because sometimes you just there are things that you and I, Father, are not going to agree on, and we kind of accept it and go to the zoo because the zoo is fun.
We can agree on the zoo. Yeah. It was this a priest who was saying you don't really need to be sorry for sins, or was it?
No, it was just a Twitter dust up, and I was just it wasn't even to me. It was Emmanuel, but I kind of thought at the time I was like, it's kind of a good answer. Confess and repent is not a bad plan, especially for a Catholic. But that turned into a big thing about mortal sin, and I was like, I don't think anybody accused you of mortal sin, but also, maybe you don't tell people things that are A, unhelpful to them, and B, just wrong, wrong thing, wrong ways to think of the world.
I don't think we're going to get much of a magisterial response to a Twitter dust up.
No, that's fine. I don't need a magisterial response. It's just a weird set of responses. And I was like, I'm fairly sure you can confess for non-mortal sins and it'll be fine. As far as I know, that is definitely a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
All righty. Well, let this be the response. Go ahead and confess venial sins. It's good for you. It helps you identify areas of weakness in your life. It helps you to welcome God's mercy into it, and the sacrament itself will contain further bolstering against even those venial sins. There you go.
I like it.
That's a force that was less than 0 right there. Or more than 0. Yeah. More than 0.
More than 0. But only up to minimal necessary. Yeah. It's the saying nothing that really. I don't like it when everybody sits back or won't address the issue or will, go after people for no good reason, basically. That's all for me. That's all a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So no other takers, Father Eric? Do I have to keep you company indefinitely here?
I suppose you've been my most loyal interlocutor.
I try.
I haven't returned the favor to you.
That's fine. That's fine. That's not how that works. You're higher up the chain. You've got the collar, so.
Yeah, and sometimes I've got things going on Friday nights, so. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. That's not really how it works. Did I tell you did I tell you my story about my Orthodox priest friend?
Yeah, Father Ignatius.
Yeah, Father Ignatius. I saw him one day at church because my friend was like, "You should come to church. We haven't seen you in a while." I was like, "All right, I'll stop in and suffer for indefinitely and listen to them say Theotokos a million times and occasionally go wisdom in the middle and do the smelly stuff. Whatever, I can handle it." And Father Ignatius saw me and we were talking about something real quick, and he was just visiting they do a lunch right after the service on Sunday. It's quite nice. So he saw me and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And we were talking about something, and he said, "Have you read The Abolition of Man?" And I'm like, "No, Father, I have not." And he says, "It's a short book, drop all your other projects and read the book. And I'm kidding. But like I went home and ordered it right away. And when it came in, I read it immediately because it's Father Ignatius. It's not Dude Ignatius or guy down the street Ignatius, you know. I'm like, oh, I've got the authority thing correct here. So,
I mean, I believe that
yeah.
we have a video coming out on your channel here soon that basically started by me saying, hey guys, we're going to do this.
Yes. That video is coming on Friday, actually. That's going to be my Friday 7 p.m. release since I won't be able to be home. So I won't be able to do a live stream. I was gonna release Intimacy Crisis today or last Friday, but I couldn't.
Well,
so
if Mark's there, I can't. But he's telling me how much authority I have, and I kind of like hearing that. So it's kind of sad that this has been so rudely
am I back
rudely
now?
interrupted. How very odd. Is anybody still out there? Give me a wave. Dawn has watched with Orthodox services online, and the wisdom bit always makes you giggle. It's supposed to make you attentive. That Hideous Strength, yeah, that was a really interesting book. Not a standard kind of book. That's a very very odd book. Let us attend, indeed. We'll see if Mark's able to make it back on at any point, or if one of you fine folks wants to join in. The StreamYard link is pinned to the YouTube chat, and you can go in there. But I think my Benadryl is starting to kick in pretty good here, so if I don't get a little extra support here, I might be fading here pretty fast. Anyway, I'll be on Mark's channel here. We did the recording a week ago. I'm not sure how long his editing process takes. It seems a little bit haphazard here. But yeah, it should be an interesting conversation. We'll see if we'll get any traction on it. It's the way that they say it. Yeah. Well, what else is there? The Abolition of Man is a book worth reading. I would second that. It's amazing that after the publication of that book, we can still have popular materialist atheism, because I think it's a pretty thorough demolition of that. Basically saying that if these materialist atheists are correct about everything, then human beings no longer exist. And what we are doing is what we are interacting with are no longer human beings. It's something else entirely. So, yeah, not a fan of that. I'm a fan of human beings. All of my favorite people here on Earth are human beings. And so maybe we can just get rid of the materialist atheism instead of all of the human beings. That would be my take on that. And if no other human beings join me, then I think I will be signing off. So we'll get used to the new time here. It'll be 7:30 Eastern instead of 7:30 Central now. And for all of you who are out there listening, God bless you all. Oh, and join the Moby Dick Book Club if you're interested in that. The link to the Discord server is in the description.